welcome.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks for coming down.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, it's a nice snowy day for it.
Yes,
It's icy.
indeed. Gearing up for the polar bear.
That's the plan.
It's a good thing.
That's the plan.
You have more snow here right now, unfortunately, than we have, but I think that'll change in the next week or so.
Oh dear, people will not be happy to hear that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So, basically, I want to start with talking to you about, obviously, Shale Hill, how you got into Shale Hill, Sinergy, the past, 3 years that... Is it 3 years, 4 years?
4 years.
4 years that we've been all working together. I don't know if I ever told you about how I first heard about Shale Hill.
No.
So, we just started the New England Spahtens in, October, late the previous year.
Yep.
And you randomly emailed me one day and said, you should come up to my venue. I have a fixed venue in Vermont, and we've got the best course, and we're doing this amazing race. And I read the email, and I was like, that sounds like bullshit.
Now I remember.
And I messaged somebody who worked, I think they worked at Spartan HQ at the time, when it was still in Vermont. And I said, have you heard of these guys? And he said, I grew up in the next town. I've never heard of them. Let me ask around for you. And he came back a week later and he goes, oh, they're legit. And then we came up and we brought, 20 people that very first polar bear. And yeah, I think... you were legit.
But it just, we were still babies. We were just babies in the sport then.
But I'll never forget that very first email, my reaction. I saw it and was like, that sounds like big pile of BS.
But you have to remember, I never said we were the best. We were the best. I
never
ever said that. I just
and this was in the
course.
Time when OCR was growing, and OCR was still, everyone was still finding their feet. Everyone was still figuring out the races. People were folding, people were starting fresh, and you guys launched this Polar Bear Challenge, which was 10K, and had, 40 obstacles?
Yeah, about 40 then.
Yeah.
Maybe a little less.
It doesn't have 40 anymore, does it?
No, we're pushing 70 pretty hard right now. So
yeah, and still growing.
Still growing. We just built an obstacle last week. We added to our balance section. So our old balance boxes now have about a 40-foot long post hop before that, and up and down, and it's more of a mental challenge than physical. It's really pretty straightforward once you figure out how to do it. And then at the other end of the balance boxes, I put in a 16-foot long slack line.
So I've already had messages from some very short people who do your course regularly.
Yep.
Just a little concerned.
Kim Rayom is 4 foot nothing, and she did them last week, no problem.
There you go.
She's probably 4. Sorry, Kim. You're probably 4'6" or 7. I don't know. 4'8", 4'10". But she's also very athletic, but that's beside the point. You can do it. It's not... The pictures look worse than it really is. But it's really a challenge, and it's fun. And what we're going to do for the polar bear is, once you complete one section of the balance, you do not have to repeat that section, that lap. You can go on to the next one. So if you fail the middle section, you don't have to start back over and do the whole thing. But each section will count as its own penalty. I count it as one obstacle, but it's still...
I think that's what you call small mercies.
Yes, small mercies.
So before we talk about what's coming, because we're going to dig into, you've got some pretty cool stuff coming for polar bear.
Yes.
So I want to hear a bit more about how you got into this whole thing. So what is the Rob Butler Shale Hill birth? Like, how did you end up in the middle of Vermont with a farm building obstacles?
Well, we ended up in the middle of Vermont with a farm with no intention at all of building an obstacle course. I wanted to do something.
You've been there a while, right?
No, not particularly. Oh, okay, 2009 we bought it.
Okay, all right.
So I was racing a little bit, and I had done a Spartan Beast, and I had done a couple small local mud runs and stuff, and I thought, well, this is pretty fun, And when I was really young, I did an obstacle course race when I was about 14 or 15 in Florida, when I lived down there on a professionally built military obstacle course, and I loved it. So anyway, to move forward, I did a few Spartan races, I did a few Tough Mudders, I did that kind of stuff, and I said, oh, this is kind of neat. I would like someplace to train. So I built, maybe a half a dozen different obstacles.
Okay.
And I was down in the corner building the big tower that was there now, the fireman's tower, and a couple of guys stopped in and said, hey, what's going on? And they already knew what was going on.
Yeah.
But they wanted to train with me and play, so they came out, helped me build some things, and every Saturday we started just doing pickup runs. Every Saturday morning we would do a run, and every week the course would grow a little bit, and pretty soon I thought, this is pretty neat. When you have 35, 40 people showing up on a Saturday morning, you have to take notice of that, and say, this could be potentially a pretty good business. So at that point I decided to open Shale Hill, and we went through 100 different names to try and come up with a name for a farm. What do you call it?
Yeah.
So as you know, there's an abundance of shale.
Yeah.
And when we came up with the name Shale Hill first, I kept thinking, it stinks. That's not a very good name. And now it's just set, and that's it.
Yeah.
And everybody knows it as Shale Hill. So it's been a fun adventure, that's for sure. So we built about, like you said, the first year 35 or 40 obstacles, and we had some small local events. Then we decided to do the polar bear, which was our first big try to get out there.
Why a winter race? So everything I understand about logistics of winter obstacle courses are that they blow.
Yep.
So why jump in at the deep end with winter?
Well, most of the winter events that are out there, and most of the winter events that I've ever participated in, which is not very many, because they suck.
Yeah. It's cold.
It's cold and it's hard on your body. They're all sufferfests. I mean, most of them are they beat the hell out of you. Yeah. I wanted to do something to show people that you can really have a good time in the wintertime. You can come out here, yes, it's chilly, and yes, it's all those things, but we have bonfires around the course, and we have fires at the main venue area, and we have the heated party barn, and we have the hot food all day on the big buffet. It becomes an 8 or 10 hour party.
Yep.
And there's some racing going on.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, it's a party. And we also made it so that you don't do the penalties out on the course. And everybody said, well, why do you do that? Well, it limits your time out there. If you're out there doing 45 minutes to an hour worth of penalties, your exposure rate is much higher.
Cold, yeah.
If you get back here to the venue, you've got a bonfire sitting right here. You've got all your friends sitting right here. If you need to go inside before you do your penalties to warm up, you can do that. It becomes more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And then with the introduction of the journeyman, that has eliminated a lot of penalties and so forth. So people really are enjoying that for the winter race. They can come out, they can play with their friends for the day.
Yeah.
Party, eat, have a good time, and not freeze their butts off. They can really. It's interesting that everybody says, "Oh, it's going to be cold," and it's cold. It's Vermont in the wintertime, but it's no colder than doing a race in May in your shorts and t-shirt and getting submerged in water.
It's all about the gear. I mean, with the very first year, it was 3 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, it was freezing.
It
was cold.
But we layered up, and it wasn't so bad.
No,
I mean,
when you're dressed for something.
I say that, but Sandy is going to say something because she put a foot in a stream and got frostbite. But
she did get chilly that day in her single sock layer innovates. I remember
that's right.
That.
Yeah.
But she survived, right, Sandy? Yeah. So we don't do water submersion. Yeah. We don't do any of that. Do your feet get wet? Yes. It's snow. It's going to melt. It's going to do all those things. But we were concerned this year with the pond not freezing over. I was concerned about what to do with the rope traverse because I don't want anybody going in the water. It's frozen solid now.
Awesome.
This past week we had 3 degrees 4 days in a row. I mean, it's pretty thick, and I'm hopeful that it continues to stay that way. But we don't want. It's not a sufferfest. We really want people to enjoy it, have fun. You can bring your friends out, spend the whole day, and laugh and enjoy it.
Yeah, so. And the calendar's matured, right? I mean, you've gone from doing lots of single lap events to more recent. This past year and this year, you've got endurance events and weekend sets of events, so that it becomes more of a destination. You're doing something more than just show up, do a lap, go home.
Correct. Yep. We found that there's tons and tons of races out there that are 5K and 10K obstacle course races. Yeah. You go in, you do a lap, you go home. And with our location being the way it is, people want to come up and spend a weekend and vacation, and spend some time up there, not just come up for a day and leave. So what we've done this year is we've tried to put multiple events on a weekend. So we'll have a Saturday event and a Sunday event. For example, our triathlon, which we call the Triobstaclon, that's going to be on a Saturday. And then the Sunday right after it, we're doing the relay event. Yeah. So you can compete in both. You can also bring some teammates up to join you on Sunday. You can spend the weekend with your family or with your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever the case may be, husband, wife, and have a good time. You're not coming up and it's not a big rush around. You come up Friday night, you spend the weekend, you go home Sunday.
And that's what we do. We do that all the time. And we'll rent Falconbury or we'll rent some local B&B, 5-10 people in a place, and you have a weekend. And it's a good way to get away.
And we've located quite a few B&Bs around, as you know, and it makes it very affordable. I mean, you put 10 people in a house for $150 a night, it's $15 a person. I mean, it's super cheap. You go to a hotel, it's $100 a night, divided by 2, maybe 4 if you can deal with that. So it's really not too bad. And with Rutland being so close, it's only 30-minute drive. You get every single chain hotel, so we have enough room for storage of people. Yeah, that's for sure. And we've stuck with our original thought of no charge for parking, no charge for spectators, all that kind of stuff. The only race we charge for spectators is the polar bear because of the buffet. They have to pay for the food and so forth, and that's, I hope, is understandable to people. You can't just we go through a lot of food.
A lot of
I
bacon.
think we went 52 pounds of bacon last year, some ridiculous thing. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting this year. If it's as warm as they're saying it's going to be, I bet we don't go through as much food because more people will be on the course.
I bet we'll still go through as much bacon.
You think so?
I think so.
I think we'll see. I hope we go through a lot of everything. I hope people enjoy it and continue to eat.
So the course has a reputation for being tough. Like it's not like you're not a Warrior Dash. You're not an entry level. Well, I say you're not an entry level, but you're not an easy venue. But I still say to people that you are entry level, you're also advanced, you're also elite, and there's something for everyone. But how do you address that when you get... Because I hear it, I mean, people talk and they say, oh, it's just too hard for me, I get too beat up. But what's your view on that entry level versus being too tough, and should it be dumbed down, and what's that?
Well, the obvious answer to your dumbed down question is no way. I'm not going to ever dumb down a course because there are so many people that want that challenge. Yeah. We also have introduced the 5K course for people who are beginner intermediates that are nervous about the full 10K course. That 5K course will still offer you a lot of challenge, but it's certainly doable. You're not going to gas yourself out because the distance is short enough that you're going 3.1 miles.
It also bypasses some of the tougher, more challenging sections of the course, that 5K distance.
It does, the other thing that 5K does for you is when you get to certain obstacles in it, it allows you to pass them up.
Yeah.
You have a bypass there, but you can also try it if you want to. We want people to try things. People are very surprised at what they're capable of doing, and someone will look at an obstacle and say, "There's just no way I can do that." And you talk them through it, teach them how to do it, and they're doing it in 10 minutes. They're done, and they've got it figured out, and they do it every time they come out. Yeah. So, my feeling on that is if it's too easy, there's no challenge, they're not going to come back. They need to have a challenge. You can't beat them up so much they don't want to come back.
Yeah.
And probably 98% of the people that come to our course come back. Our repeat business is massive.
It's people fall in love. I mean, I've said this the other day. People become fans and enthusiasts of venues, of brands, of races. They know, they've raced, they love, and you guys get that as much as anyone else.
I think we do. I think we get a lot of that, and we want to keep challenging people. And you're asking me, what I think of that. I said that I think that we just need to keep challenging people. We need to keep pushing the barrier a little bit.
Yeah.
And with our type of venue, we're able to do things that bigger races can't do. I understand when you go to a bigger race and they got to put 5,000 people through a course in a day, they can't build the obstacles that we have. And I'm not saying that in a negative way about them. I mean, they have a different requirement than we have. Yeah. I only need to put 400 people through the course in a day.
Yeah.
So I can build something that's only 2 or 3 lanes wide, and there's no bottleneck. There's no problem there. So it becomes a very challenging obstacle, and it also allows us I can get around a course during a race and teach people how to do something during a race if I have to.
Which I've seen. I've been the recipient of that several times.
And that's the benefit, I think, of being a smaller venue, is that we can be very personal that way. We don't want to be huge. We want to, 400 or 500 people at a race is as big as we'll ever want to be.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's all you need to be. It's.
What do you consider the hardest obstacle on the course? Not for you personally, but based on people showing up, people accessing the course. What do people struggle with the most?
The Tarzan ropes are by far the hardest obstacle. However, I see more and more and more people getting it now. Now that the popularity of the rigs at different events has raised, and these other events are stepping up, like Battle Frog, for example, they've stepped up with their rigs in a fantastic way. Excuse me. And people are more used to that and are training more towards that. And that's what I've said for a long time. It's very important to teach people what they don't know how to do yet. So you show them something they can't do. If they can come to your course and do everything without any issue, you probably haven't done your job correctly. Like Rob McCoy, he'll always have 1 or 2 things that throw people for a loop, and people come out to my course and there's always 1 or 2 things that throw them. I mean, we have some of the best guys in the world come to our course, and there's some things that they still struggle with, and they love that because they know that they have to concentrate, they have to work.
I've seen World's Toughest Mudder champions asking you for advice to do obstacles on your course.
Yep.
So
and it's good, and it's really good. We've had world-class Ironman triathletes walk off the course because they just can't do it, and I don't want that. I don't want that to be a negative thing. I want you to understand that they then come back and say, "Hey, teach me how to do this. How do I do this? And you got to show me how to do this efficiently."
Yeah.
And that's why our training and so forth in the summer is so important. People think that training is overrated. Training for a specific sport is overrated, like an obstacle sport. Oh, I'm just going to go to the gym. I'm going to do my curls. I'm going to do my pull-ups. I'm going to do all these things, and I'll be perfect. I'm going to throw a kettlebell around, and that's all great. But physically doing the obstacle there's no replacement for that. You have to understand how your body works, what your personal limitations are. Everybody's bodies move differently.
So what about on training and the training stuff you do? Last year and again this year, you did the 30 days, where you invited a group of people to come and stay on site. Every morning you woke them up, which I envisioned to be like a drill sergeant ringing a bell at 5 a.m, and I'm sure they were thrilled. But you woke them up, you sent them out on the course for a lap, backwards, forwards, different speeds. I mean, we know some people who did that. People listening know people who did that. What did you see? Like, how was that for you as seeing them progress from day 1 to day 30, dealing with all the personalities and dealing with all the conflicts with you and with each other, and how was that experience?
The experience was great overall, no question. We're going to stay out of the conflicts. When you live with any group of people for 30 days, you're bound to have some friction. You're bound to have it. There's just no way around it.
Yeah.
We had a very interesting group of people. We had all different levels of talent, from absolutely beyond beginner to beyond elite.
Yeah.
So, and we had everybody in between, and everybody was there for a different reason, different purpose, and I believe everybody really grew a lot. For example, Sandy Ree changed completely.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at a picture of Sandy Ree when she showed up, and you look at a picture of her on the second to last day before we were getting ready to leave, she looks like two different people.
Yeah.
She's not only more fit and more talented than she was when she got there, she's relaxed. She was calm. She was all those things that just made her a better athlete. And she got rid of a lot of fear during that 30 days. And if you want to get rid of fear, our course is a good way to do it.
Yeah.
'Cause
especially every morning at 5 a.m.
Yeah. That's right. When it's dark and you hear little critters running around in the woods, it's always fun. But the 30 days is priceless for somebody who wants to make a significant change in their life. I know it's hard for somebody to take 30 days off of work and come out there. You don't have to take 30 days off of work. You just have to take 30 days away from work. You can still work there every day. You've got all day is to yourself. So we start at 5 in the morning and we go till however long it takes you to run the course, 2 hours, 3 hours. In Vincent's case, an hour.
Yeah.
So we had a phenomenal athlete, Vincent La Rochelle, come out.
Yep.
And here's a perfect example. Amazing athlete. He showed up, couldn't finish the monkey bars, couldn't finish the Tarzan ropes, had struggled with the rope traverse across the pond. By day, probably, he would correct me on this, probably day 6 or 7, he finally got the Tarzan ropes, and he never missed another day. And then he broke the course record by it's hard to say because the course changed so much between the time that a real elite athlete ran it and then he ran it. But he has the course record at 1 hour and 7 minutes as it sits, and that's just
insane.
Sick.
I can't even imagine that.
It's ridiculous. So, the 30 days is priceless for somebody that really wants to make a good change in their life. Is it easy to do? No. Is it practical in some people's case? No, it won't be practical. If you have your families and you got all those things. But if you really, truly are devoted to making a change in your life, I'm not talking about just a physical change. It's a mental, whole body experience. You find out a lot about yourself out there, and you find out a lot about yourself dealing with other people on the course. I saw a lot of camaraderie build up among those people, even with the friction that was going on in some situations. They still, when push came to shove, they backed each other up.
Yeah.
And it was very impressive. It was really neat.
And then let's talk the future Shale Hill. So obviously, we won't go too much into it because I know it's just happened, but Shale Hill's listed for sale.
Yep.
And you're looking to find someone who's going to own it, run it, and process it. But the message that the Spahtens have been saying, you've been saying, is that doesn't mean Shale Hill's going away. It doesn't mean that you're going to stop growing or developing, right?
Not at all.
And case in point is you have Larry visiting you.
Yep.
You have a little toy being built for polar bear.
Yeah.
So
which toy are you talking about?
I'm thinking the wall, but the destroyer wall. But if you have another toy, you should
there's
tell me about
another
that
toy too. So we built the one toy we talked about. We changed the balance section up, and that'll be new for the polar bear.
Yeah.
We're building a Larry Cooper's famous for his destroyer wall,
which was at OCR World's Fit Challenge.
Yep. So we've decided to get together on that. We put the posts in for it last week, and he's going to show up next weekend, and 6 of us are going to put this destroyer wall together, and it's going to be a destroyer wall like on steroids. It's going to have...
Oh, good.
Yeah. But it's going to be multi-tiered. So it's going to be we're going to have a beginner intermediate wall, and then next to it we're going to have a stupid wall. So the stupid wall is going to be ridiculously hard, very challenging, and super fun.
Yeah.
So it's going to take his standard destroyer wall, and when you get to the top of his standard destroyer wall, we're going to go yet an additional 3 feet above that, back on a 20-degree angle, and force you to concentrate really, really hard. And then we may not have it for the polar bear, but eventually, once you get over the destroyer wall, there will be yet another obstacle immediately following it. We probably won't have that built for the polar bear, but we'll save that for the spring. And with the polar bear, as you know, we do a penalty box for the polar bear. So you do your penalties when you come back to the venue. You turn in your chips that you pick up along the way, and you turn them in. So this year we're going to have a similar situation. You're going to pick up your chips. You're going to come back. You're going to possibly roll your dice to determine your multiplier of how many penalties you have to do and so forth. But we're going to have a new penalty this year, and it's going to be... We haven't quite come up with a name with it yet, but the F.U. Rob thing has come up quite a bit, and I'm not trying to steal the F. Norm deal at all.
No.
Sorry, Norm.
It seems to stick. I don't know why.
Yeah, I hear that often out on the course. So we've got a car coming, and we have some sledgehammers coming, and your penalty will be to strike the car so many times with your sledgehammer as your penalty.
Which sounds easy.
It's a stress reliever.
Ish.
Just depends on what your penalty number is.
Okay.
So it should be something fun and different. And that's not the only penalty. That's just going to be one of the varieties of penalty. We're trying to come up with some things that are really fun. It's really fun to swing a sledgehammer at a car. It's really fun.
Yes, it is.
So people who haven't done that yet are going to get to experience something to just get that anger out, get that frustration out, laugh a little bit.
Yep.
We'll supply safety glasses. So that should be fun. And... Anyway, so those are some of the changes that we're going to talk about for the polar bear this year.
Would you build another course? Ideal world, like you've got a venue. Would you do this all again, or would you do this differently? I don't mean Shale Hill, because obviously you are where you are. But let's say, would you build another course somewhere else? Would you take Shale Hill on the road, expand it?
I would never take Shale Hill. I shouldn't say never. I probably wouldn't take Shale Hill on the road. I have an idea for that, but
of course,
we won't go down that road. Right, Jason? Anyway, so we'll skip that discussion for now. But as far as building another course, there's probably a pretty good possibility down the road somewhere that will be in my life. Whether it will be to the scale that Shale Hill is or not, I don't know. My life is changing, and that's why Shale Hill's on the market. Shale Hill could sell in a week, or it could sell in 3 years. We're going to continue running it nonstop. No holds barred, continue full bore like we always do, and continue to build, continue to grow. I mean, people should see that we're putting another $20,000 worth of obstacles in for the polar bear. I mean, it's we're not slowing down that way. I won't be happy.
And the 2016 calendar is committed. You're running it. I mean, there's no reason they're not. They're on.
Every event's happening,
which is good because I'm coming to them. So
no, every event's happening. Anybody who's purchased a season pass, these events are happening. I mean, anybody who knows me knows that I will hold an event for 5 people. I mean, we never cancel an event. And if for some reason Shale Hill were to change hands between now and the end of this season, there's no reason at all that anybody would cancel those events. It'll be part of the contract for the sale that these events stay in place, and so there's no risk at all with somebody signing up for one of these races. It's going to happen. I wouldn't be scared of that at all.
So, Shale Hill's not your only baby. You also have Synergy Sports.
Yes.
And that's been around a couple of years, but this past, 6 months, you've full bore, you've got products and all kinds. How did Synergy Sports start? What are you doing with Synergy Sports?
Okay, so Synergy Sports I've had for about 3 years or so. It's been a very small, just thought in my mind.
Yeah.
And I made the company and I got it running, but it's just
And you made those
tiny.
push-up pipes,
The push-up pipes were our first.
Yeah.
Were the first product. I actually made those push-up pipes when I was about 20.
Okay.
I used to be a fighter, and I was trying to get something to develop to make my wrists really strong.
Mm-hmm.
And so I developed those things. I just made them out of rebar initially, and then about 4 or 5 years ago, I decided to get a little more serious about it. So I did them, and we started selling them, and they've been very popular. And in the last, like you said, in about the last 6-7 months, I decided to take Sinergy full bore.
Mm-hmm.
So I took some funding and I pushed it into that. We developed the world's first mobile obstacle racing center. We called it the Band Cutter for World Championships. It was a little too hard for World Championships apparently, but it was still a good place to show it off and for people to see it. And that is actually up for sale right now. Someone's looking at buying it to make their own mobile business out of it. I was going to do a mobile business. I don't have the time for it, so we're going to let it go down the road. But the Band Cutter probably is the future of OCR, at least the beginning of the future of OCR, in that I think you'll see that the bigger race series will probably pick that idea up and run with it. I mean, when you can set up an obstacle in 10 minutes versus a build of a day with 8 guys, it just makes sense. You know, you show up, you set the thing up, you break it down. Anyway, so Sinergy we also developed this year. Let me back up a step. Initially, Sinergy did the pups, then we got into bigger stuff, like big cages that are 90 feet in 90 feet around, 90 feet of continuous monkey bars and things like that. And we built them for gyms and those sorts of things. This year we've gotten into a lot of smaller stuff for home use.
Yeah.
So we've developed some small 3-foot long and 6-foot long rage racks that you can bolt to the wall. We're trying to get into that market a little bit. And as a matter of fact, I delivered 2 of them this morning to some people down near Boston. And it really helps people train at home for a big rig, but on a small spot.
Yeah.
And it's affordable.
Because no one can install a big rig outside, but you can put a rig on the side of your house or the deck or whatever, right?
Yep. The rig we were looking at this morning that I delivered, it was going to go in his garage.
Awesome.
We sold another rig last week. It went up on the outside of the guy's garage. It just depends on where you have the space to put it. But it offers a unique training device that isn't on the market yet, and it's affordable. You know, it's not a $1,500 product. It's a $400. It's either a $300 or $400 or $500 product. It's not some exorbitant amount of money. Not that $500 is cheap, but it's very inexpensive for what it is, and it offers people all the devices that they will need to train for successfully conquering the platinum rigs and the different rigs that are out there on the market. And so hopefully that market's growing, and Sinergy's also our biggest market is coming up. We're going to get ready to introduce our hydration pack this spring. And our hydration pack is like nothing else out there. It's not a standard.
Everything I've seen for this looks amazing. And I know that you've had a prototype and you've sent it back and you've had changes and you've got another one and you want to send it back and get more changes. But what I've seen is this sounds fantastic.
Yeah, this pack is it's really unique, and I won't get into it too much.
Yeah.
But
because it's going to change.
It's going to change a little bit, but it's probably the most convenient way to carry hydration on your body and also carry your gel packs with you and so forth.
Yeah.
Without having the straps and the belts and all the hoses and all that stuff in the way. This thing is so streamlined. It's very unique, and it's not for every race and it's not for every racer because the volume of hydration is limited. You know, we're limited to 24 ounces on a body. We're also gonna offer multiple sizes. We're gonna offer some 8s, some 4, 8s, and 12s. So it'll be unique. It'll fit almost any race under like 10K or under, even a 15K race and under. You'll be fine with that, and I think people will see the obvious advantages.
And it's also for other markets. It's not an obstacle course thing, right? It's
correct.
Trail running, ultra running, marathon road running.
Yeah, mountain biking, on-field sports for your youth soccer leagues and all those kind of things. That's actually going to be our biggest market. Will be on-field sports. On-field hydration for children is a real problem.
Yeah.
Dehydration is a real problem.
Lack of on-field hydration.
Exactly, and they're not allowed to wear packs on the field because they have straps and they have all these things that people's heads can get caught in and arms can get caught in, and you can really get some serious injury. This eliminates all of that, so they can wear this thing on the field, which is really nice. The other advantage to it is it's made out of an impact-resistant foam, and where you wear it on your body, the location you wear it on your body, happens to be one of the largest injury-producing parts of your body. When you swing your arms around and whack somebody in the head, that's a huge problem. concussion issue. This is a padded unit, and it also the bladder itself will burst. If you hit it under enough pressure, it will burst to protect the person that you hit.
Yeah.
So it's a safety device as well for children. So it's going to really be a great product for those markets. Let me back up a step and say it was developed for OCR initially. It is tough, it is rugged, and it doesn't get in the way anywhere.
Yeah.
You can climb ropes, you can crawl under barbed wire, you can go over and under walls. It does not get in the way. You don't have to worry about all those standard things you worry about with a pack. So it's really unique.
And you also have heavy jump ropes. You have big versions of the original pup now. And I've seen you set up Synergy stalls at arm wrestling events, CrossFit events. I mean, Synergy is huge. Or feels huge. I mean, it's got a huge market, right? It's huge appeal.
Synergy is growing. We're growing the market. We're tapping more into the CrossFit industry now. We're seeing a lot of CrossFit crossover to OCR more than ever.
Yeah.
I think the CrossFit people are fit enough, and now they're getting maybe a little bored in the gym, so we're seeing a bigger crossover. You used to think CrossFit and OCR made sense together, but there wasn't as much crossover as you would have thought. Now we're seeing a lot more crossover.
I think Reebok discovered that.
Yep. So now you're seeing a lot more crossover, and our heavy jump ropes are fantastic for CrossFit and for OCR training. You can do it in 5 minutes, more workout than you can do with anything else. They're ridiculous. Very fun, very good for you.
And you dropped one off for me, so we'll be putting a review on the website. Once it's beat me up for a bit.
Now they're really a good product. We put high-speed ball bearings in them. We're the only rope on the market that's a heavy rope with a high-speed ball bearing handle. So you can actually do double unders with a heavy rope.
So when you say you can actually do double unders, you don't mean I can actually do double unders? Because I struggle with double unders on a speed rope.
I can't speak for you. I have seen people do double unders, and I've got one guy that can almost get a triple under with the 1.5 inch. Not with the 2 inch yet.
Good God.
So, but they are fun. Yeah. They're a great cardio device. They rip your shoulders. They rip your arms. Everything gets so shredded so fast. In 5 minutes, you've got a full workout in 5 minutes. If you're really limited on time, you want to do something before you go to work in the morning, they're perfect for that. The larger pups we developed interestingly enough, I thought they were going to be a more difficult product than our standard pup because it changes your grip so much. You have to have a much wider grip. What I'm finding is they're more comfortable. So you can actually, more people can use them without hurting their hands so much. But they still offer an advantage that the other pups don't, in that you can do more reps. So you end up doing more reps, and you're going negative with them because they keep you up off the floor 4.5 or 5 inches. So you can really get negative with them. And it's a whole different concept than I originally thought it was going to be. But the arm wrestlers love them because it develops that big grip hand strength. A lot of wrestlers are using them now because they're finding that the more hand strength they have, the better they can handle one of their opponents. So, and they still fit perfect into the OCR industry where you need to develop hand strength. Because when I say they use less hand strength, you still need a tremendous amount of hand strength to use them, especially in the inverted
And you
positions.
literally wrote the chapter on grip strength.
So in Matt's book there, he literally wrote it. I just gave him some notes.
Well,
little props to Matt there. No, I have a pretty good grip strength, and
I've shaken your hand. You have plenty good grip strength,
and I've developed it over the years doing these different things, and I'm just trying to pass that stuff along. People, the biggest thing I see on the course, the biggest weakness where everybody falls apart is their hands. And I've said this 100 times. It does not matter how big your arms are. If your hands can't hold it, you can't deal with it. So you get these great big guys that come out to the course, huge muscle-bound people, and they can't grip things. They can't hold things. So that's why I focused on grip strength. And most of the stuff that Synergy makes is grip-based product. Most of them. The jump ropes, believe it or not, they work your grip
I believe that.
Really quite a bit.
Absolutely.
Our new climber is awesome. The climber is a unit that you mount on the wall. You can also mount it on the ceiling, which we're finding out, which is really fun. And it was developed by me to initially learn how to do a one-arm pull-up. And so you use both hands, but you load up one arm more than the other, and you develop the muscle groups that you need to do the one-arm pull-up.
And it pivots right in the center. I've seen this, people using these.
And they work great. And then there's also other exercises you can do with it, but that was the general concept behind it. And it's becoming more and more popular. I'm coming up with a rail system for that, so you can mount it. The rail system mounts to the floor and up the wall, and then extends back over like a big U shape. Like a big like a crescent moon,
Yeah.
and the climber slides on the rail.
As you do
So-
this, it moves.
So well, you pin it in place. So you
Okay.
can put it up overhead.
Uh-huh.
You can put it upside down, so you can do helicopter work with it, and then you can slide it down into a dip station and do reciprocating dips, and then you can drop it to the floor and do mountain climbers with it. So it's a very unique product in that it started out as just a simple product, and now I'm making it actually a piece of fitness equipment, if you will.
Yeah.
People can buy the rail system in the unit, and it becomes a piece of equipment you bolt to the wall.
Yeah.
It doesn't take up much space, but it's very, very useful for building your core, your all your stabilizer muscles in your shoulders and forearms and buys and triceps. So it's really really been a good product. I like it.
So back to OCR.
Yep.
Last year you went to every World Championship race? You didn't race in them all, but you attended every World Championship, right?
That is correct. Yeah.
Seeing like the top of the OCR game, like the top of the World Championships, whether that's OCR Worlds, World's Toughest Mudder, Spartan or Battle Frog, where do you think OCR is going? You own a business in OCR, you train people in OCR, the ideas you have around OCR, where do you think it's going in the next 24 months?
Oh, boy.
Like, you've just seen the World Championships, you build stuff, what's next?
Well,
Because that's a really hard question to
It's
answer.
very hard.
24 months in OCR is really long.
it's huge. It's
Yeah.
it's 50% as long as the sport's been around, basically.
Yeah.
Let me back up a step and say every single World Championship I went to they were all so different
Yep.
from each other.
I can imagine.
Like Spartan race, for example, and whoever's listening to this, I am not for or against any of these race series. I'm just going to simply talk my opinion of what I saw.
I did not ask you to rank them, so
Yeah.
you don't have to 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, I won't. But Spartan race was an amazingly beautiful venue.
Yeah.
The race itself, I did not race it.
Yeah.
I ran the whole. Well, I ran a lot of the course the day before. I saw a lot of it. Very challenging. The submersion issues, I think, I think that kind of stuff is a little tough on people. Probably too tough on a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But their courses seem to be like the long course, and
Yeah.
everything's very long. And I don't care for the fact that you can burpee out of something. I don't like that fact. I think if it's a World Championship event in an obstacle race, if you can't do the obstacle, you shouldn't be the winner of the race. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I saw guys
For the elites, right? For the elites. Yeah,
absolutely. Yes, we're talking about elite only here. I'm sorry, everybody. I mean,
Oh, no,
Yeah.
it comes up a lot when people talk mandatory completion versus burpees, and
yeah,
open waves are open waves. People go out, have fun, do their thing. Elites, rules for elites.
yeah. And I think that that's just my opinion on that. I think that if you can't complete the obstacle, maybe you get 2 or 3 shots at it, maybe you get 5 shots at it, whatever the case is. And if you still can't complete it, then you give up your wristband or you give up whatever. Yeah. I don't think you should be able, as an elite, to be able to burpee out of it. I think if you are in a pro class or in a regular open heat, that when you get to an obstacle you can't complete, have something that is something you can't do differently than somebody else. Everybody does a burpee differently. Yeah. Have an out and back where you grab a tire, run it out an eighth of a mile, run it back an eighth of a mile, or something like
Tough
that.
Mudder, World's Toughest Mudder had the penalty loops, right?
Yeah.
And everybody does. It's a mile, right?
Yeah. Whatever it is it's the same distance for everyone. I think that I was going to go to World's Toughest Mudder next and say that. I think that they have that down. I think that works really well, especially for an endurance event like that.
Yeah.
Those are very good fixed penalties.
Yeah.
It's going to take you as much time as it takes you. Whether you run fast or you walk it, it's still the same distance. So anyway, Battle Frog World Championships in Florida was fantastic. I actually did run that. I won't say that I raced it, but I ran it. Mandatory obstacle completion for the first time ever.
Did you complete all the rigs?
No, for the first time ever. I completed them both on the first lap, and I failed the first rig on the second lap.
Yeah.
Just didn't have it that day.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to make any excuses.
No.
It was a great course, a lot of fun, but once again, completely different than the other two. I mean, completely different animal. So, where do I think obstacle racing is going? I don't know that I know. I think that you're going to see a lot more. You're going to see a large increase in the popularity of fixed location places, or and I don't mean permanent courses necessarily, but people like Rob McCoy and ABF Mud Run down there in New Jersey, fixed location. Every year you can plan on that type of race once or twice a year. I think you're going to see an increase in the popularity of those, and I think that maybe the bigger guys are going to keep hashing it out, see who comes out on top, if you will. If they would all work a little bit more together, I think it would be a nicer fit, and I think everybody could find they could support each other in their own niche, and make everybody a little happier, and produce a better product for the end user. But I don't know where it's going, Paul.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyone knows. I mean, it's a difficult one to predict.
How do you know? I mean, you've got one company that just wants to dominate the whole thing, and I think that's, I guess, fine. I don't agree with it. I think that it's much more important to work together.
Yeah.
And here's an example, and maybe it's not a good one, but car dealerships, they're all on the same street, all right next to each other. Why do they do that?
Yeah.
They do that because it makes it better for their business. They can compare and shop. I would love to see, what I think the sport needs to have is, I think it needs to have a great big trade show. Once a year, twice a year, whatever the case is. And I think all the big players and all the small players need to attend these things with booths, show off whatever their new tag obstacle is going to be for the year, whatever that case is. I think that would be huge for the industry.
Yeah.
I think that it does not need to be at somebody's event. I think it needs to be its own event. I think it needs to be.
And you'd have a Sinergy booth or a Shale Hill booth right there.
Yeah, I mean,
awesome.
You have all that, and you have.
Bring your stupid truck.
You bring my stupid truck. You have ABF Mud Run there, and they have their booth, and you have, maybe you have a whole line of people, and maybe you break it up in such a fashion that New England is all in one area, and California is all in one area, and the Midwest is all in one area of the trade show.
Yeah.
So people from that area can go there and say, "Oh, look at this is a new race. We're supporting each other." We've tried the race local thing here in New England, and it's working out really well. Yeah. I mean, everything, when you try it out the first time, you struggle with some stuff. But generally speaking, it's much better that the race directors are friends than it is not.
I absolutely agree with that.
We can talk to Rob. We can talk to even Norm Cook, being he's working for Spartan, but he's a local guy. Those kind of things are very important to the industry, I think. And maybe the big guys don't agree with that, but I think that it's necessary for the middle of the road guys like us. Yeah. To have that support. Or I'd like to see the sport grow into a race series with local races. I know you've done your race local series, which is great, and I think there was a lot of success with that last year. Yeah. And I think it'd be really neat for each one of these smaller locations like Shale Hill and ABF and all those guys to develop their teams a little bit more and really travel to these other people's events and support it financially and support it with help and so forth. And I know that we got involved last year with the OCR United deal. Yeah. And Chad from ABF and Rob, you were sick as a dog there, man. I'm so sorry. But they all showed up, and they brought volunteers and stuff to come to the Polar Bear last year, and we got down to Fit Challenge to help out a little bit there. We didn't help much, but we were there attending, and then unfortunately we could not make it to ABF this year. But those are important things,
and athletes notice that. I mean, I think this is the challenge that people like Spartan run into. Without that cooperation with other races, people will do their race until they're bored of their brand and start looking around. Whereas if you've got all the local guys working together, regional, whatever it might be, people can shop around and they stay within a point series or they stay within a program, whether that's the Grand Prix, whether it's something else. Yeah. I agree. And I think that's a good place for us to start.
Sounds good.
So thank you, Rob.
No, thank you. Appreciate it. No.